You said you agreed with everything in the Bible, so I was trying to test that with the slavery thing.
Yeah, well, it didn't work because
you think you can have slaves? What's up, everybody? Natalie here with Mike, and I had a sign that said, debate a vegan, win a drink, and he said, he doesn't really have any debates or arguments against veganism, but what are your general thoughts on veganism?
I don't really care. I mean, if you're the person that doesn't like to eat animals, that's fine. I like to eat animals. God put them here for us.
What's your relationship with animals like?
I have a cat. I do eat meat. I am not a vegan. I was raised to eat meat. The only thing my family didn't eat much was pork, but it's the only animal we don't really eat.
So I kind of want to touch on two things there. The religious, God put them here for us, and then the I enjoy eating them. So why don't we start with the enjoy eating them, right? So I didn't stop eating meat because I don't enjoy it. I stopped eating it because I like animals and I think they have moral value. So in the absence of necessity, which is saying where we don't have to eat them to survive and thrive, I think that we need to morally justify killing them. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, the whole point of the thing is that God made man and he made animals. He made certain animals for us to eat.
Do you think animals are individuals with their own personalities and desires?
Well, sometimes I never thought about it that way until people be posting pictures. I mean, videos and stuff about animals doing their own thing and remembering stuff. So I guess some of them do have personalities.
Some of them or all of them?
I guess all of them. I don't know. I haven't looked at every animal, so I wouldn't. I only looked at the ones we eat, like cows and chickens and stuff.
Animals, go to the Bible and look at it, do not have a soul.
What's up? This is Natalie from the future. I'm going to be hopping in to clarify a few things. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that animals don't have souls. In fact, it implies that they do have souls. For the fate of the sons and the fate of the beasts is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. Indeed, they all have the same breath, and there is no advantage for man over beast, for all is vanity. Would you ever eat a cat?
No, I don't think so.
Do you think there's a moral difference between a cat and a pig or a chicken or a cow?
I guess not. They're both animals. I guess it is a weird double standard type thing. You wouldn't eat a cat, but you eat a cow, and people have cows as pets.
Is there anything in the Bible you disagree with?
No. The Bible is God's anointed word, and it is our instruction manual on how to live life.
Do you think something is cultural and because you were raised up in it, is that a good reason to continue to do it?
I mean, it depends on how close you are with your culture and how much you want to identify with the culture you were raised into. I know me personally, I do things in my everyday life that's not necessarily how I was raised and taught by my parents.
What does the Bible say about slavery?
Look, slavery is that's a social issue. Slavery has been around since biblical times before that. So
does that make it okay?
Okay for what?
Does that make slavery moral?
Well, I mean, define slavery because I go to work every day, work 50 hours a week. I'm in slavery because I have to make enough money to be able to provide for my family.
My mom used to say oh, it's already dead even before we bought it. So just eat it. It's in the store already.
Do you think that's a good line of thinking?
I mean, not really, because of course it's already dead when you get to the store. There's thousands of dead cows and chickens and stuff in the grocery store, but your consumption of the product does make the demand. That's how it works, supply and demand. So they're gonna have to kill more cows the more beef you buy because you're taking it out, so they need more meat.
Yeah, I guess I'm talking more about the transatlantic slave trade where people were bought and sold.
Now we're talking specifics.
Yeah.
And that's something I really like to talk about because it's a bunch of bullshit, because everybody talks about the transatlantic slavery trade and all of this, but they don't realize, or they don't talk about the fact that before that was a thing, Irishmen were sold into slavery. There are more slaves outside of the U.S. than there has ever been in the U.S., and the third most prolific slave owner in the U.S. was a black man.
So I didn't get into this with Mike because I like to keep the topic on veganism when I'm doing street outreach, but there are a few things that I want to clarify. While it is true that the Irish were indentured servants in English colonies and were treated horribly, they were explicitly not enslaved. They had legal personhood, and the terms of their bondage often had a time limit. During the BLM protests, a popular meme about Irish slaves in the US was heavily circulated among the white nationalist crowd. I'm not saying this guy is a white nationalist, but he did use a few of their common talking points. It is true that Irish people have been historically oppressed. A big reason for that in America was because they weren't even even considered white until the 20th century. Even the oppression of the Irish had a racial dynamic. As far as the claim that there were more slaves outside the US than inside the US, this one is actually true. More Africans were enslaved in Brazil and the Caribbean than in the US. However, the implication that Mike is making here is that we as a country don't bear responsibility for the system of slavery that we set up, but this is just a way to minimize the atrocity of slavery. Ever since Jamestown and Plymouth, America has had a race-based caste system. All 13 colonies had slaves. And even in the North, slavery was an integral part of law and culture. Slavery was more ingrained and had an even longer lasting history in the South. Minimizing that shows Mike's lack of knowledge about American history. Now, when he said that the third most prolific slave owner was a black man, I don't really know what he's referring to here, and frankly, I don't think he does either. From the research I did, the third biggest slave owner was, ironically, an Irishman. There were black slave owners, most of them were of mixed race and descended from white plantation owners. And the vast majority of them were actually here in New Orleans because of the city's unique racial dynamics. And I know all this because I was a New Orleans tour guide for a few years. But once again, the existence of a tiny minority of black slave owners does not negate the fact that the American system of slavery was based entirely around race. Mike is trying to tell a half-truth to tell a bigger lie that is still prevalent in the American South. Could we agree that slavery is morally bad and should be avoided?
I don't know if we can agree to that because it all depends on your definition of slavery.
So that type of slavery where, like, people are bought and sold, could we agree that that is bad?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're standing in line, somebody coming by and you're in good physical condition, I'm going to buy you. Yes, that I believe that is bad.
So the Bible says that that's okay, so you would disagree with the Bible.
Where does the Bible say that that's okay?
Your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you and members of their clans born into your country, and they will become your property.
What about the brothers that were out there fucking picking all y'all's fucking cotton and shit?
I'm also against slavery, just to be clear. I am not pro-slavery. But the Bible actually was pro-slavery, so if you want to use religion to justify eating animals, I could use religion to justify
Not
slavery.
my God. Not my
Yeah,
God.
it's in the Bible that you can have slaves.
Well, it's also in the Bible that I can eat fucking meat too. So.
Sure. But I'm saying that we shouldn't take whatever is in the Bible and apply it to our lives because there are things in the Bible we wouldn't consider moral, correct?
You're correct.
But that doesn't have anything to say about what you just talked to me about.
You said you agreed with everything in the Bible, so I was trying to test that with the slavery thing.
Yeah, well, it didn't work because
Because you think you can have slaves?
if you look at my employers, am I much more than a slave?
This is so ridiculous, it's actually painful. Mike, you are not a slave. You have a job that you choose to go to, that you get paid to go to, that you can leave every night and go home to your family. You were on vacation in New Orleans. The only time that slaves came to New Orleans was when they were in chains being bought and sold as property. The fact that you are comparing your life to that of a slave is insulting to their memory, and you should be ashamed of yourself. This is, once again, a way to minimize the atrocity of slavery. The rest of my conversation with Mike circled around the local, humane, respectful killing myth that you've all heard 1,000 times. I'll spare you the suffering that I endured and cut back in near the end. What would, stop you from going vegan? Do you think you would switch?
I mean, I don't really like cooking meat as it is, especially beef, because it takes a long time to cook.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess a quicker meal prep time would definitely make me switch.
Okay. So if I showed you some recipes that were fast meal prep, then that would be compelling?
Yeah, I definitely try it out for about a good month because I give stuff a month trial. But if I didn't like it, I probably would go back to eating meat. I'm not even going to lie to you.
I was raised, when we kill a deer, we respect that kill, okay?
I've heard a lot of people say that. I've never heard someone say, you would never say that about a human, right? That I respectfully killed a human.
Well, obviously not, because we are, look, all BS aside, there are humans and there are different animals below that food chain. It's a food chain thing. Would you ever go to a whale and say, hey, I don't want you to kill red snapper?
No, I wouldn't. That's why I talk to humans.
Right. Yeah. So the point is that even though we harvest that one animal for our consumption, as long as you're doing it in a respectful manner and in a manner that's not going to wipe them out of existence,
by killing them, you are wiping them out. You're wiping their existence out.
No, I don't.
I mean, not the species, but that individual. Like, if I shot that dog would be wiped out of existence.
Right.
But yeah, so
But that dog-
I think the fundamental disagreement that we have is that you think that there is a
so this goes into
respectful way
abortion.
to
This
kill.
goes into abortion.
I would love to have
Let's
that
go there.
conversation with
You
you.
want to go there?
I would love to have that conversation with you, but I kind of want to wrap this up, and
I-
because we've been talking for 30
would
minutes,
too.
I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you so much,
Yes,
Mike.
ma'am.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button. Special thanks to my morally superior patrons, Amy, Andy, Deepak, and Rebecca.